Hello everyone, Geriatric here with Gary, and I hope you are staying retroactive. And welcome back, seems like it's been a very long hiatus, of Geriatric's Midnight Movie Review. Tonight the film was Live by Night. You might have been seeing trailers for this. This is the Ben Affleck kind of 20s and 30s gangster film. Um, Actually, I didn't know if I was going to see this movie. I didn't know that it was going to be put in wide release until tonight when I got to the theater. So, we'll just get into it. It's the story is really about a guy by the name of Joe. I think it's Culligan, something like that, who is the son of a Boston police captain. But Joe wants to be a gangster. He is a veteran of World War One, and this movie sees him through trials and tribulations about how he rose in the underworld. The main action takes place in Boston and Florida, and we see how Joe really uh, consolidates power and the people he meets on the way. I like this film. It's based on the book by Dennis Lehane. You might know him from Mystic River or Shutter Island, and this is a very good gangster film. Ben Affleck, who also directed it, is very good in this role because Joe is not motivated a lot by money or anything like that. Something happens halfway through the movie where Joe is actually acting on vengeance, and he wants to become powerful enough that he can take his revenge on certain individuals who he felt has ruined him and his family's life. Um, this movie was interesting because there's like a trend in gangster films. The one that immediately jumps to mind, especially with the Florida setting, was of course Scarface with Al Pacino, where everything seems to be going right for the gangster in the film. Everything's coming into place. He's defeating all his enemies, and then in the last 20 or 30 minutes, that's when everything falls apart. And Live by Night kind of sidesteps this because Joe actually is built on the many failures he has as well as his successes. And it's interesting to see a gangster film where it's not the gangster is just by good luck or just by maybe poor screenwriting that he just keeps succeeding. We see Joe, and Affleck does a great job of this, is portraying Joe as a guy who is defined as much by his failures as his successes. And that's something I really appreciated. It made Joe feel more real. That he was not just some character to move from, okay, now he's going to go here, now he's going to kill his enemy, and now he's going to, get, the girl and everything else. There was quite a few very good female roles in this. Ellie Fanning, Sienna Miller, Zoe Sandoval, who played different women who are important to Joe, but also not just as a romantic uh, device, which is something I like. I want to see women who are not just there for eye candy or to be, the put upon girlfriend. And the one who really stood out to me was Zoe, who plays later Joe's wife. She's a very interesting character because she is portrayed one way, but as the film progresses and Joe has to make some very interesting decisions, she's not just there to dutifully accept it or blissfully ignorant. She knows what he's doing, she knows why, and she supports him. And I thought that was a very interesting choice in this film because it makes her more of a partner than you've really seen in a lot of gangster films. One of the things I always complained about any mafia gangster film is that the women there are not very fully formed. The exception, of course, would probably be The Sopranos with Melody and Tony Soprano's wife, who have their own stories. But in movies, most of the time they're just a plot point or, oh, by the way, they're married over here. Um, Goodfellas, The Godfather, even though Diana Keaton in The Godfather did have kind of a more substantial role, they don't seem to really fit in. And that's something that Affleck does in this film, is that the female characters are not just there for a plot point. They are their own people. They're fully formed. and they have either to hinder or to help him. Um, One of the interesting things, which is not really, you don't see in a lot of gangster films. I mean, Scarface really didn't have a father, and the Corleone family and the Godfather were already in the business. But Joe was actually the son of a Boston police captain, a guy who was actually very highly respected. And to see that he wants to be, a gangster is interesting, because you start wondering about, how was he raised, how was he that he would totally reject his father, but at the same time, him and his father do have quite a good relationship, even to a point where, as I said, no spoilers here, that something terrible happens, which kind of motivates Joe for the second half of the film. I will also say at the end of the film, there's a very nice little callback to that. It's very cool, actually. So yeah, I really like this. Ben Affleck, I may have said this before in some of the early movie reviews on the old channel, is he's very surprising as a director, because he wrote Good Will Hunting with Ben Affleck, an amazing movie, one of my favorites. And stepping into the director's chair, there was always the sense of, okay, he's a good actor, he's proven himself to be a successful screenwriter, but can he direct? And his movies have been fantastic. Gone Baby Gone, Argo, The Town. He's a very skilled director, and it's interesting though, because all of these movies, well, not Argo, but most of these movies have to deal with Boston and the crime element, and you get a sense with Affleck that he knows this world, that he inhabits it, which is a very good thing, because one of the most depressing things in a movie is when you watch a movie and you feel that the director or the screenwriter really do not have a connection to the world they're talking about. It makes it more real, and I think that really showed in Affleck writing of Good Will Hunting, which was very much a Boston movie. So yeah, I like this. Rated R, of course. This is a gangster movie. There's a lot of violence. There is sex. There is language. But I don't know if I've ever talked about this, but I love this time period in American history. I like the suits. I like, all the things. So this film was really cool just to look at, to see like the old style. Check it out. Leave the kids at home. As I said, it's a gangster film, so yeah, just leave them at home. But yeah, really good movie. Affleck, to me, directing, has not made a bad movie yet. He doesn't work as much as most directors, but probably because he's acting. So, but yeah, I always look forward to what he is. As I said, if you like these types of stories, please go check out the author, Dennis Lehane. His books translate very well to the screen, but there are some that are not there yet. And he's a very good writer, very good mystery writer, and really great character. So it's very easy to translate those to screen, because they're already sort of fully formed. So yeah, go check it out. For me, I think the next one's going to be Resident Evil, which I'm very interested to see, because I've seen all the Resident Evil movies and kind of getting to that feeling like, okay, if this is the last one, let's ride it out. Let's see what happens. So look for that in the future. Again, do this every Thursday, as long as there is a movie, not like the other time, or weather stops me. So this is Geriatric. That's scary. This was Live by Night. Go check it out. I recommend it. And remember to keep it retro. And Marion Coulter was actually in Justin Kurzel, the director of this film's wonderful done Macbeth. And she plays a very good role. This is a woman who's very mysterious, who we only see and then for a very brief second, and then suddenly are thrust into this world where she is kind of our connection to it. Can we trust her? What is her motives? And she plays very well. She is, always a great actress in, tons of films. The most one that comes to mind first is, of course, Inception, where she played Leonardo DiCaprio's